Hey, g'day, Paul from Vocal Pro here. In this video, we're going to talk about why most people don't sing great, and I'm going to show you a few things that can really help you to be a much better singer. Stick around. This isn't a comprehensive list of why most people don't sing great, but I've got 6 main reasons today to share with you as to why I think people get stuck at being a great singer. The first one is early childhood development. Some people just don't grow up around a musical influence, so you may be one of those. So some families are into sports, or they're into woodworking, or you're into sailing or whatever, but not into music. And so music is very much not something that you would consider to learn, or it's not something that you consider to be a part of in your early childhood development. For me, it was a little bit different. We lived next to my grandparents. My grandmother was a piano teacher, and we all learned instruments from a very early age. The thing about me was I had a good ear and I could learn an instrument. I was musically intuitive, but I couldn't sing to save myself, and that's what made me a passionate singing coach, but that's another video for another time. The second thing is, and how you get through that too, by the way, before we move on, is if you're in that situation where you've never had an influence of singing, it doesn't mean that you can't learn it. You definitely can learn it. It just means that you're doing it as an adult. So all those, Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. The reason why they were rudimentary melodies was because they were imprinting the notes into you when you're like 2 years old. That's the point of a nursery rhyme, to develop that early childhood pitch recognition and also timing recognition. I remember when I was at school, we used to have this thing, flee, flee, fly. I don't even know where it came from. I don't know what it is. Leave a comment if you know what it was about, but I remember in grade 4, kumala, 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 fista. It was very complex from a timing point of view. I remember the end of it. I can't remember the whole thing, but the end of it went something like bit diddly but that that's quite a complex syncopated rhythm. So you're doing that when you're like 7 years old. You develop that early childhood recognition. Also, when I was young, the ABC over here in Australia, the Australian Broadcasting Commission, used to have this sing program where all the primary school kids we'd sing every week. We'd get a book at the start of the year, and we had all these songs, and the teacher would take us through these songs to the radio. So there's a certain time through the week where all the school would open up the books and sing. So it was very much part of our early childhood development, which I'm not sure that people do these days. The second one is poor influences. So if you've been listening to some singers that aren't technically great and you're trying to copy those people, you may find yourself falling into some habits that don't work for your voice. Okay? So an example of that is, let's say you're a baritone like I am. So I'm a low singer. I can get very low, but I can't get as high as Bon Jovi. If I try to sing like Bon Jovi, that's a poor influence on me, because I'll never be able to sing those notes the way that he does them, as an example. So you've got to make sure that the people that you listen to support the voice that you're working towards and not work against it. So for some people, as an example, they might naturally have a naturally breathy voice. But if you don't have a breathy voice like I don't, then what happens is, if I try to put breath in my voice and I'm now singing like this, it's very unnatural for my voice to try and move itself into that position. And so therefore it compromises my ability to sing great. The next one's genetics, and for some people this is very unfortunate, but there are some people that are just colorblind, so you'll never become an electrician or an airline pilot. It's just the way it is. And for some people, they're just not genetically disposed to being able to hear notes, or they're not genetically disposed to being a great singer for whatever reason. It's just genetics. That's just the roll of the dice. But that's very minimal. For genuine tone deafness, like you can't hear a note, that's about 1 in 10,000 people, I believe. So for most of us, we have what's called relative pitch. It means if I go ah, you can go ah, and you can hear it too. And if you can't, I can actually train you so that you can, and then suddenly you're in tune. I've done that hundreds of times throughout the years as a coach. But there's just that small minority of people that are just genetically predisposed to not being able to hear notes, and for some people, genetically predisposed to not be able to feel a beat either, which I find very, very interesting. One of the other reasons why most people don't sing great is because most people don't do what the greats do. So we have this natural intuition of thinking that we've got to use our voice a certain way, but the greats actually, for whatever reason, they just use their voice differently to the way we use it. And so what I say about that is, let's say you've got 1,000 people, you might have 2 people that for whatever reason, in their early childhood development, when they started using their voice, they started using their voice in a way that was very conducive to being a great singer. And the rest of us don't quite know what that is, and we've got to learn it. We've got to go to a coach like myself, and so I can show you those things. And then the final thing, the sixth thing today, is some people just have an ability to be emotionally risky, and they can fall into the song. So when they're singing the song, you can really feel it from here. You know, singing is an art form, and the intention of an art form is to create an emotional shift. So if your head is singing to my head, it's a great sounding voice maybe, but you don't captivate me emotionally. But when our hearts communicate, when I'm listening to a vocal, and it might not be perfect, but I'm listening to that vocal and it captures me here, that's truly the art of being a great singer. The problem with that is you've got to become emotionally vulnerable to be able to translate that to the listener. You've got to be able to fall into that emotion. I don't mean just tearjerker songs either. I mean, if you're going to sing a happy song, you've really got to fly out into it. If it's an aggressive song, you've got to fly out into the aggression of it. You can't be safe. You can't hold back on that. And if you hold back, the example I use is like the crusty demon that wants to jump over a dozen buses, and right at the last minute they think, you know what, if I just go a little bit slower, then maybe I'm going to protect myself from possible hurt. Well, we know that that's not going to work, right? So it's falling into the emotion, really going there into the song, that actually makes a difference. Hope this has helped. I hope it's given a bit of insight into your voice and how I can improve it. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that stuff. I'll speak with you soon. See ya.